and welcome to another episode of The Long Rest. I'm Logan.
And I'm Brandon.
And today we're going to be talking all about roleplay. We sit here and play a TTRPG. Let's put that RP in.
That was smooth.
Was it?
Yeah.
You looked at me like it was way too cheesy.
No, I liked it. Roleplay is really diverse, and
Yeah.
I think we all think that. But there's so many elements to it, and some people are afraid to dive into it. And some people put too much emphasis on it.
Yeah.
And it can be simple, but it makes the game different. It changes it. There's
It does.
an element there that it makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
It turns the game from just sitting around the table rolling dice, playing Yahtzee, to a story.
Yeah.
A story that gets told together, where you guys are actually making memories and having fun. You know, that's what sets it apart. That's what keeps me playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Roleplay is, when anybody used to always ask me, what is it? What do you guys do when you sit around the table for 4 hours at a time?
Yeah.
You know, I always used to say, think about it like a live action chapter book. And that's what it is. And the roleplay is that filler. That is why it's a chapter book. That is it. So the big first step is, for your character, you are the narrator. And that's sometimes the best way to really just think about it. If you're struggling with that roleplay aspect a little bit, you're the narrator of that character.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think that?
The narration, some people are a lot more verbose than others, but at the end of the day, just putting into the world what your character is doing. If it's as simple as I'm walking down the street or whatever it is, that is helping put into the other characters' heads what your character is doing. You don't want the DM telling everybody else or yourself what your character is doing at all times. That starts to feel very one-sided. That is how it is not a role-playing game at that point. It's just the DM storytelling, I guess.
Sure.
But I do think there is a lot to the narration of what the character's doing, and I think there's a very good art to it that you really don't have to put too much into. Because at the end of the day, whenever you dictate what your character is doing, that also tells the other players what that character is doing, and most importantly is it helps put you in your character's shoes, as opposed to just saying, I'm walking down the street. Put a little bit more emphasis on it. How are you walking? Are you slinking in the shadows? That's a whole different role play of if you are brazenly walking down the streets with a broadsword over your shoulder and gleaming armor. Those are two different characters. Two different ways to hold yourself, and immediately you know that guy slinking is hiding something, or he's scared. The guy walking down the street with a broadsword over his shoulder is overconfident, full of himself, maybe, or just a good stand-up citizen that everybody recognizes as being hey, that's the captain of the guard, right?
True.
The more you put into that narration of the character, the easier it is to fill the shoes of that character.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point.
So when you explain your character, what they're doing, what does that help for you? Does that link anything?
Well, as you said, it puts you in the shoes of your character. So it helps envision what this make-believe character is doing. So by saying, Brandon, the character, is walking down the street, I imagine he's walking down the street. But by saying he's strutting down the street, making eye contact with everybody as he walks by in a very serious manner, even something that simple, doesn't have to be super artistic, but now I'm okay, I'm strutting down the street and I'm locking eyes with everybody. Now my mentality switches on how I'm thinking about my character, how I'm going to now approach the next conversation I'm about to have with either PC I'm walking up to or an NPC. What I think in that moment now changes drastically.
Yeah.
You know, it helps really fill that void of tying the knot from the real world to the make-believe that we're doing, you know?
Most importantly, that narration makes it feel less goofy.
Yeah.
You know, because we have all probably been there, especially when we first start out, where role-playing around the table with hopefully close friends, but even maybe if you're starting a campaign, it might be strangers, right? That first person to do the role play, it's daunting. You know, you kind of have to break the ice.
Yeah.
It's like a first date kind of feeling. And just saying what your character is doing takes that whole edge off, you know? And most importantly to me, narrating what your character is you showing the DM that you're invested, right? You are telling the story just as much as they are at that point.
Well, you're telling yourself you're invested.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling yourself, hey, I am here. I'm actually out of the real world, maybe significant other, kids, work. Like, I'm choosing to do this and I'm invested in it.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, by role playing, you are showing that I'm glad to be sitting at this table, even, and I'm invested in everybody, you know? Like, I'm showing you that, hey, I appreciate this time we have.
Yeah.
You know?
It's that one step towards escape, I guess is the easiest way I can think about it. Yeah.
And through that role play, I think the biggest thing is it creates the feeling that it puts that seed of feeling, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I can speak all day long and tell you what, you know, blatantly softly spoken, or not softly spoken, but straightly spoken, what my character's doing. But through role play, you're allowed, you know, to like sow in that emotion. And like Logan said, it can be kind of awkward at first, especially if you're the guy that's breaking the ice. For the campaign, sometimes it's per session, you know. Sometimes it's just a little weird to get into character, but once it starts rolling, you start to notice, oh, Logan's starting to roleplay a lot more now. He's now into it. Jim Bob is roleplaying more. Billy Bob is roleplaying more. You know, everybody's Bob Thornton over here is roleplaying more. And like as that session progresses, pretty soon everybody's, you know, in, and you can feel the difference from 2 hours ago to now, 3 hours ago to now. But that sowing that emotion into it, you know, that's when like all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm acting a little bit. Like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden you're crying, or you feel that emotion of sorrow or happiness, genuine happiness because something happened. You're like, oh, this is awesome. You know.
What I'm picking up from the gist of what you're saying is the physicality description or the physical description of your character is the first link to the emotions of your character.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain aspect, yeah. I mean, I think that, yeah, the way you describe yourself in the initial, as you start to morph that in, allows you to sow that emotion in. Like, it's like the bridge, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, as you learn to, like, softly speak your character's existence into the world, figure out how you can manipulate your words into allowing your character to become real. Now that next step is to like feel the emotion, and it kind of it sows itself in because you've already taken the effort to describe and more specifically emphasize like what you're doing in a more detailed manner, and so it just naturally gives you that emotion.
Yeah.
Because now I'm sadly walking through, and that's a very broadly statement, but you know what I mean. Like you're detailing your character even furthermore. And that emotion naturally flows into it.
Yeah.
And so now if you're sadly, like, how are you acting? You know, when
Yeah.
you hit that role play moment of talking to that NPC or talking to the king because you just didn't save his wife, and now, you know, you feel very remorseful because of it. How does that breed in that situation? And you're able to kind of show that through that.
Yeah.
So.
And what I've always found is helpful is you're not only feeling... You begin to feel those emotions that character would be because you can stand in their feet. You know what they're physically doing. You can also start to think about what the character would be thinking about and also what their next steps would be in that moment, but also with the other characters around them. You know, like you were talking about, it kind of ping pongs around the table. If one character is starting to role play, the other one's going to get into it, hopefully, and it sparks it to where soon enough you guys are all together, fueling each other's characters to be in the moment. Most importantly, when you're in that moment, there's a very good time to learn how to distinguish between the character and the player.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. What would be the first reason?
You say, I wish, and you have a ring of wish on. No, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, what is this? Did you actually mean that or not?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that happens at every single table all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody makes a crack a wise joke and it's kind of a serious moment or something, but did you actually mean that? I can't tell, you know.
Sometimes. I know at one point we had a table rule where it's like, if you say something at the table, we took it like that. You know? Because when we're there, we were taking that moment very seriously.
Yeah.
So let's set the jokes aside for now, because if you say that, your character said it. There'll be the repercussions of whatever that is.
Yeah, I think we got to a point where jokes became too heavy at that moment, and we were just like, it was such a breakaway because all of a sudden we'd only play for like 10, 15 minutes. Somebody makes a joke, and all of a sudden we have a sidebar conversation about said joke for 10, 15 minutes, and so like you lose 50% of the time. So it just helped us, and I actually, that's funny you say that because it definitely did help our home game.
It did a lot.
But you're right. If it's evident that you're role-playing and characters are role-playing, you go, okay, yeah, Logan definitely said that above table. Like, that was Logan saying it, not your Warforge. Like, it's not him. You know, totally different aspect.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. The other important thing, aside from just knowing who said what, character versus player, is also the knowledge that players might have that characters wouldn't.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's actually two sides of that coin. Sometimes your character knows more than the player does.
Yeah.
Which is very hard to roleplay, because how do you know what you don't know, right? But that's as simple as begging the question of, would my character know anything about this? You know, about the world that you're in, because that world lives in the DM's head, not yours.
Sure.
So it's easy to beg those questions of what the character's knowledge is about the history of that world, the flora, the fauna, whatever it be that the player wouldn't know. So you're genuinely asking. But like I said, there's a flip side, which is what the player knows and the character doesn't. Metagaming.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's the number one problem, if there's a problem at a table, which would be metagaming. And it can be very hard because sometimes you don't have ill intentions to do it. There's some things that, you could softly metagame and you accidentally ruin something, and sometimes you're blatantly choosing to know the resistances and said conditions that said monster has. That your character, nobody at this table knows, and you're blatantly doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good.
No, the easiest one I can think of is Troll's susceptibility to fire.
Yeah.
I know that as a hard and fact rule of D&D. If it's a troll and it doesn't die by fire, it's coming right back at you.
Yep.
But when your character first fights that troll, there's absolutely no reason, unless they're a troll hunter or whatever, maybe they have some kind of previous bestial knowledge. But otherwise, there's no reason they would kill it with fire, unless that's their shtick, is just to burn everything.
Sure. Right, and that could be.
Yeah, it very well could be, and it's a happy accident. But at the same time, if that's something your character wouldn't know, putting that into the game just takes away from the game itself.
Right. And relating it to the aspect of roleplay, right? Like, that is the importance of being able to distinguish above table or in character. In those roleplay moments, when Logan has that information, like, hey, the troll does this, but I know I can't do this. This is what really distinguishes good role play. It's because you go, well, my Warforged does not know this, so I will instead I will cut his head off as he looks very bad, or I'll cut it, take one last final blow with a Warhammer as he looks very bad, knowing that I could, light him on fire or something to the extent. But
yeah,
that's a distinguisher that could really set a role play apart.
Yeah,
a good role play apart.
It absolutely would. You talk about good role play. Where that puts my mind is there is bad role play. And the worst part about it...
Is there a phrase you would think of?
Oh, that's what my character would do. If you said that, it probably didn't... It's probably in a situation that it just rubbed somebody the wrong way, and you looked at him and said, that's what my character would do. Maybe there's a good reason to say that. Maybe. Or maybe you're just being a menace for no good reason. Just to antagonize, or just because you might be feeling a bit like you want to put up that opposition. I don't know. Maybe you just want to be difficult. But I don't think there's many situations where saying that's what my character would do is good role play.
I can't think of many.
Yeah.
It'd be so sparse and in between that if you utter those words at a table, more than likely you're doing it with ill intent. Like you either knew you did it with bad intentions, or it's a regrettable decision, and you go, well, that's what my character would do, so I'm not going to take it back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, maybe not at the time you did it with a bad idea, but you go, okay, well, I'm not going to backtrack it,
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. I'm grateful that I don't think that we really ever had that situation arise. So not that I can really think of, not to that extent, but yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason the horror stories surround that phrase. I'm sure if you just Googled, that's what my character would do, all you would find is people complaining about this instance that happened in the game. There is a stigma around it for a reason,
Yeah.
So that would be what bad role play would look like. And I think the cool part of this entire conversation that we've had, all about role play, have we ever once mentioned what your voice sounds like?
No. That's one of those misconceptions,
Yeah.
Like where you have to dive so deep that all of a sudden you are a famous A-list actor.
Yeah. Do you have to be an actor to play Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
Do you have to be a voice actor to play Dungeons
Absolutely
and Dragons?
not. Have you heard any of the voices I do? No.
No.
So
I think we do them for the fun of it.
Absolutely.
I do it just because that's who I am. I like pretending to be good at accents. Sometimes
in my brain, it helps distinguish characters.
It does.
And it's from a Dungeon Master's perspective, I think most DMs probably use that as a distinguishable factor. It just helps me keep people straight sometimes. Like,
exactly.
I'm playing this guy, I'm playing this guy, I'm playing this guy.
Yeah.
Well, they all sound differently.
The biggest benefit to voices is that a voice is going to be able to tell the other people around the table that it's not Logan speaking.
Yes.
It is whoever I am playing speaking. Especially if you are the Dungeon Master and there are multiple people, instead of taking a book route where you said, she said this and he said this, you can kind of help distinguish it by just having a few voices sprinkled in. By no means are we professionals at that.
No.
It's amateur at best. Practicing on the shower, on the way to work, whatever, talking to your dog in a funny voice, just to kind of get a feel for it. But most importantly, there's other things you can do to your voice that don't even play with accents at all.
Which is important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people consider like it's just the end all be all, and the accent. Like I have to be able to have a British accent, Australian accent, something of the sorts. No.
Yeah.
There's so many aspects. I talk like this normally. I could talk like this. I can talk like this.
Yeah.
Just as a simple changing the tone of your voice.
Right. Not only changing the tone, but if you change your cadence.
Mm-hmm.
If your character talks really slowly.
You're at the table for 12 hours. But it works. You know?
That's somebody totally different than me. I'm probably a pretty fast talker.
Yeah.
One of my characters famously talked a million miles an hour, and that was really fun to just word vomit at people. But as soon as I started talking in that fast cadence, you immediately knew that it was not Logan that talking, it was Theo, right? Hope you maybe understood that. Subtitles.
Yeah.
But it's just as simple as changing your cadence to signify I'm somebody else at the current moment. That has absolutely nothing to do with raising or lowering the tone or pitch of your voice. Has nothing to do with trying out a Russian accent or whatever it be. It's just talking slower.
Yeah.
Taking your time with your words, really chewing on them, or eating them alive and just going through them as fast as you can.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it. You can break it down as softly as you want to just change something different than the way you speak naturally.
Yeah.
And that really helps set the precedence of who's talking at the table.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, it helps keep the table, I don't want to use the word in check, but it helps keep the table in the zone is the best way.
Immersed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when everybody's got that little bit of the difference, everybody knows like, oh, Logan's still working hard to stay in character. I just will stay hard or like work hard to stay in character. So will they, she, them, everybody does it. We're going to have like be in character for, this whole time.
Yeah.
Without breaking to go above table for something,
Yeah. And the cool part is, with any kind of change to your voice, you can practice at it. You'll get better, by all means. And just have fun with it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, make it your own to make that character your own. But you don't have to be a professional voice actor.
No, and do something comfortable.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a misconception too. Like,
that's the biggest roleplay tip we're going to take away from this whole video.
Yeah, be comfortable, because God be willing that you are able to play this campaign for a year or 2 years, whatever. So don't make it something so hard that like your voice is hurting after 2 hours of talking, 3 hours of talking. Like, be comfortable.
Yeah.
Do something that you are comfortable to do for long periods of time. Not something that you're like, oh, this sounds really cool, and I think I can say a few words in this accent, but it's not going to work long term.
Yeah.
Like, you'll eventually go, well, I'm over this, and fall back to your normal voice.
Yeah. And that even leads me into what'll probably have to be our final thought here.
Mm-hmm.
I completely lost my train of thought, which is
It
a
is
tragedy.
the final thought.
Yeah.
Whoa. Talking about comfortability of picking the accent.
Yes, thank you so much. I lose my train of thought far too often, but hey, whenever you're role-play something that's comfortable for you. I recently made the mistake of trying to role-play a character that I'm just flat out not, and I stopped having fun. And I had to have that conversation with the DM of, man, I love the concept of this character. When I created this character, I had an awesome vision, but then when I sat down at the table and I played this stone-faced, emotionless character, it wasn't me. I couldn't get immersed in the game because I'm trying to, the whole time, right? I lost interest.
Yeah, we're not actors.
Yeah, and I was like,
we're there to have fun.
That was the
It's not a
biggest
job.
thing is, if I am here to have fun with my friends and that is taken away from my fun,
Absolutely.
let's pivot my character.
Yeah.
I'm still playing that same character, but we had a very awesome moment where my character had a emotional change to him just because I instigated with the DM. I said, hey, I want to make this change. What can we do to facilitate it?
Yeah. So yeah, special tidbit. Be open and communicate with your DMs. Don't hold stuff to your chest.
Yep.
That's the other one.
No kidding.
That's the honorable mention.
Yeah.
But roleplay's as complicated as you want it to be, and everybody always, I feel like that's the normal stigma, but it's as simple as you want it to be. And with that simplicity comes great reward.
Yeah.
Like, truly. So
Absolutely.
don't be afraid of it.
Don't be scared to roleplay.
Yeah.
Just get out there and have fun.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Long Rest. You can check us next Saturday, or next Wednesday, or every Wednesday for Commander's Log, our one-on-one D&D podcast.
Yeah.
Live action playthrough.
Better yet, you should probably just check our channel out at noon It doesn't matter what day. Just check in, you know, or hit the bell, you know.
Get those notifications straight to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way you always know.
Hey, for our giveaways out there.
Ooh, good catch.
Yeah, goodness. Today's the day. So all you have to do on today's episode is you have to comment down below, comment and like it, and then go follow us on TikTok. So that will enter you in. We have 2 weeks starting from today. So the reason we need you to follow us on TikTok is so that way we can send you a message if you win.
Yes.
That way we can communicate with you. So
Yeah.
go follow us over there, and you'll see all the other same stuff too. So cool beans.
Cool beans.
Beans cool. See ya.